Headphones on, let's do this.
Hey, do you know of a podcast I can listen to that has nerd and comic books and stuff? I really can't find one.
I say, you ever heard of the Nerd Dumb Podcast?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Nerd Dome Podcast. I am your podcaster without fear, Luke, and today I am joined with.
I can't see you.
I know I'm going full Matt Murdock. The reverse Murdoch.
I was like, wait,
You guys can't see me. The reverse Murdoch might be the name of the episode.
Hi.
Hi. And you are? Oh, okay.
And classic Chris Hoffman, co-founder of Validity Studios.
Andrew couldn't make it this time, but
Sadness.
we will make sure he's here next time.
We'll work through the
Promises.
tears.
Mm-hmm. I have a story.
Yes.
Surprise. I didn't tell you I had a story.
Surprise stories are the best stories.
So at work today, I walk into the little break room area thing to buy me a Mountain Dew to get me through the day. And one of my coworkers beckons me over to sit by him as he's finishing his lunch. And he's like, hey, I got this notification on YouTube to follow this podcast. And I recognized a face in the podcast, and it was you. And I was like, that's disturbing. But and then I proceed. I was like, so he's like, so I followed you, and now you have one more follower. And I was like, oh, thanks. So thanks, Jeff.
That's awesome.
Us. And I said hi. I told him I'd say hi to him on tonight's episode.
That's awesome. I remember the first time my voice got recognized. I was at the nerd store, and I was talking to somebody, and someone pops around the hood, and he goes, Are you the host of the Nerd Dome podcast? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I knew I recognized your voice. Bye. And then left. And I'm like, bye. And Charles is like, I'm on it too. Standing right next to me. Oh, I'm on it too, guys. Yeah, fun times. Chris, you said you had a story for us too.
Yes, news. Kind of news. News. Yeah, so long time. So locals here in Utah, there was a long time here that there were basically no comic book or fan conventions. There was one way back in the 80s that was like a sci-fi authors convention that sometimes would have like a comic book person or whatnot. But one of the longest running fan conventions in Utah, Anime Bonsai, announced yesterday, I believe, on Facebook that they are going to shut down their convention that had almost gone for 20 years here in Utah, in Layton. Same place, same in the Davis Conference Center, the same convention center where the furry convention is. And so this came as news to the staff, the vendors who had paid for the next convention that was supposed to take place in October of this year, October of 2024. It came to a surprise to the staff, to the volunteers, to the vendors who had purchased tables, and to the hundreds of people who had already pre-bought tickets, 3-day passes and such. And so we're friends with all of these people, with a lot of the people that like go to this convention. It's been a mainstay, like I said, for almost 20 years. Peaked in its attendance at about 4,000 attendees. Recently, the latest one after COVID, they had a little bit of time where they were struggling to recover, like a lot of cons were. But this one, they struggled a little bit more. The last convention last year drew, I think they said 1,900 people. My kids and I have been to this show. It was a fun atmosphere. Organized as a nonprofit. I'm always a huge fan of that for conventions, right? So that you know that they're putting the money that comes into the convention goes back into the convention, goes back into the experience for everybody. But the board members of the convention put up a notice that they are not going to continue. They're not going to do this convention, and to email them for refunds. So, but with no details. Nobody had any idea like what happened to the convention and what went on there. And so that's been the big mystery, right? And so watching a lot of these threads go past and seeing all sorts of accusations being thrown around to people, this is kind of what I can piece together actually happened to the convention. So there are three things that seem to be the nails in the coffin, as it were, for this convention. One is COVID, of course, right? Like they just never really recovered. Conventions are like like a lot of businesses where they're a house of cards, right? Where the money that comes in for now pays for the next time. And but the other thing is and I'm going to also put this in the front of this, allegedly. All of this is allegedly. Like there's no official word from this, no official until it is official, right? But allegedly there was someone who was stealing money. So that is just, you've heard, how many times have you heard that from small conventions, right? Where there's someone who is in charge of some piece of money and it disappears. And so apparently there is a case in court right now that is going to sort out that, whether that it doesn't really matter how it gets sorted out, the money's gone. You know what I mean? So that then probably never going to be recovered. So there's an amount of money that is several thousands of dollars, which they need every penny of to be able to run the convention. And but this third thing is the one that's going to take a second to explain. So, and it also has a huge disclaimer on it to say this is all allegedly, right? So one of the big features of this anime convention, like many anime conventions, is their cosplay contest. They take it very seriously, and that's fine. Cosplay can be very beautiful pieces of art, right? People put hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars into costumes to make them show accurate. To in these contests, there are things that you have to have accomplished, right? Like it has to have a certain type of seam to it or whatever. And so one of the things that's really important about like about a cosplay contest is who are the judges. So the judges, the cons really like to have people who are experts on cosplaying. So a lot of places will fly in experts from around the country so that they are well known and respected in the community as someone who does a fair job judging the costumes, right? And so what at this convention, what apparently happened is there was an invitation extended to a local cosplayer, someone who has been a judge at other conventions. I've seen them on Facebook. I'm a friend of a friend of theirs on Facebook, and they were invited to be a judge. And there was some sort of outcry from some of the volunteers on staff at Anime Bonsai. So nobody knew about this. What the person that got invited as a judge got was an invite, and then they got a disinvite. So they said, we'd like you to come and be a judge. And then they got a bunch of emails that said, sorry, you can't be a judge. And the reason given was we don't like having locals as cosplay judges. We get a lot of complaints about that if there's someone local. And so then they said, well, we're actually going to activate the clause in our contract that we have with you, because it's like a paid position. So they had a contract with them, right? And so they said, we're going to exercise this inclusivity clause that we have on our contract. The inclusivity clause, if you read it, they posted it. It says that people they're trying to create an inclusive environment at the convention, and so any sort of like disparity and non-inclusion is not allowed by people who are under contract. Blah blah blah. Fairly standard, you know what I mean? Nothing. So they said, we're going to exercise this part of the contract and we're going to get us out of the contract. And they were like, what did I do that is like in breach of this part of the contract? Right.
Right.
So then they got another email back where they said, okay, well, no, you can actually come and be a judge. So it was this back and forth that they didn't understand. Yeah. So they finally said, you know what? I'm just going to post all these emails. I'm not going to try to keep this under wraps anymore. Here's everything that Bonsai's been telling me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that came out, and then the convention, they actually do like a public meeting. It's like I said, it's organized as a charity, so they have to have public board meetings, not board meetings, but they have to have public meetings every once in a while.
Right.
It's part of their charter, right? So they have this public meeting. You can go and watch it on YouTube if you search for it. You look at enough of these threads, somebody's posted it on there. And boy, were emotions high, and people, and I can understand there are apparently there are some what do you call it, allegations of abusive behavior of the judge. They didn't say what it was. Most of the tips were anonymous. One of them wasn't. It was someone who was working for the convention, was actually on this call. And so that it ended up being that they it was just something that they couldn't get around, because they said, well, there's staff now who have quit because this person was going to be invited, and there are staff now that have quit because the person was disinvited. And so that was like all of the staff. There's only so many people that sit there and can run the convention. If that many people said, and on both sides of the issue, so what are you going to do to try to make enough of them happy to actually run the show? They decided to just throw in the towel, and that's going to be it for the show.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy. And this all happened in like a short period of time, it feels like.
Yes. Yeah, within the last week, this is all happened. Is hyperspace. It feels like, yeah, time is going by so fast, right? Like if you're looking at anything that's happening on the political forums right now, right? Anything, it just all feels like, oh man, remember 4 months ago when this happened? Oh no, that was last week. That was like 10 days ago.
Right.
Yeah, everything feels crazy like that. So I will keep an eye on that, and I will update you as things come along. But holy cow, like, it's sad to lose a convention, local one here, because we don't have that many.
Yeah, right.
And especially one that that made so many people happy. You can see through all of the reactions on Facebook that there are just people like shocked. Shocked at how quick it happened, shocked trying to figure out how they can get their money back, if they're going to get any money back. So I can imagine that this is going to take a really long time. And it is, on one hand, it's a really sad thing, but it's also on another hand, like a learning experience. I think any other small convention should look at this situation. And these are the types of things you have to be prepared to do if you are running a public event, right? That has people at it. You know what I mean? Like, this feels like a thing where you have enough money left over, where you have a lawyer and you talk to the lawyer and you say, what are we going to do about this situation? You know what I mean? Like, there's the fun side of running a convention where it's a bunch of friends who are like, let's put on an anime convention, you know? And then there's this side of it where, you know, if you're not prepared for it, this is kind of what happens.
Yeah, I did see a couple posts of people that, you know, hey, I got a hotel that's non-refundable. What do I do now? And I feel like I don't know, maybe like I get the you know, the staffing issues and stuff like that, but I also feel it's like maybe if they would have just instead of, you know, all of this going down in a week and a half or whatever, right? Like, maybe take a breath. You have a little bit. You don't have a lot, you know, but you have a little bit, you know, to kind of, you know, let everyone's tempers
Mm-hmm.
and everyone's, you know, like their feelings cool down a little bit,
Yeah.
and then go forward from there rather than just pulling the plug before anyone could even calm down about it.
Right. It's rough because I don't want to both sides this issue. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I don't have a stake in this either way here. On one hand, I am very much on the side of you believe victims, right? If somebody says something bad happened, you take that as seriously as possible, right? And but I also see on the other side where it's like, if you're going to make allegations like that, you need a time and a place. And like, when did this happen? When did he say it? What did he exactly say? Were there witnesses to this? Were there multiple people who want to talk about this? Because apparently one of the allegations came through, one of the anonymous ones came through, and then that person, there was one, from what I understand, I may have this wrong, but there was also someone who redacted, who said, "Oh no, never mind. That's not what happened." So there's so much confusion around this now, where it was like, you could tell this wasn't this crisis communication, and like something like this they didn't have a plan for. You know what I mean? Like, this is something that they should have had in a handbook already. 20 years of having like a board sit there and make by rules and bylaws and all that sort of stuff. This is also something that you do, is to sit there and say, if this is eventually going to happen, what protocols are we going to follow? And then you could always point to those, instead of, like you said, letting everybody run on their emotions, which are understandably high. That's why you make the plans beforehand.
Right.
Also, I also have the super benefit of looking back at this in hindsight. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Obviously, they're also in the future, know that this is something that they probably should have done. But that's why they harp on it so much in organization books, is to say, make sure that you have this ready to go so that you don't have to think about it when it happens.
You just fall back to your plan that you already have.
Yeah. And the sad thing is that everybody loses out because the con's gone now. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's it's unfortunate because I never actually I had so many plans to go to Bonsai, but I just never, like, usually it was like, oh, it was last weekend, or oh crap, it's now. That was when I always saw it, but yeah, so I'd never get a chance to do that. But something that's not sad. This is a segue. We got the
so smooth.
it's always great when I point out the segues too. But we just had it's been what, 2 weeks now that it's been out, closer to 3 maybe. The Deadpool and Wolverine movie, and I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. And Ryan, you are the expert, pun intended. So let's hear your thoughts.
I loved every moment of it. I loved every moment of it.
Good. What were some of your high points?
Special sock. Are we going full spoiler? Because I guess we kind of did a little bit not spoiler last time.
I guess we can do full spoiler. This is your warning. This is the warning. Spoiler warning. That is what this is. Go, Ryan, go.
It was the end. It was the closure to the Fox series that I didn't know I needed. I didn't know I wanted. I loved that. I loved all the Fox stuff and the blatant, oh, and we get an ending to our story kind of thing that they did. And I apparently, they kept making a joke about how many bones they are in your body, except when something happens and then you have one more. apparently when Gambit popped on the screen, I hit my boyfriend. I was like doing like really cool like taps when things were happening. Apparently, I punched him when Gambit was on the screen. And then he also was like, "Did you have an extra bone in your body during that scene?" And his comments about and we'll get to be remembered, and he's like, or even know that I exist.
I feel like I was born in the void.
Yeah. Loved all of that. I loved just every moment of it was spectacular. Yeah, I'm so glad that he convinced Hugh Jackman to come back for one more.
Yes. I think that I enjoyed the search for the Wolverine. When they comic accurate Wolverine, you little short king. I died. That and the Cavalry was amazing.
I lost my shit at Age of Apocalypse Wolverine. I was like,
oh yes. Yeah, that was the best. Yeah, I liked when he's like, the classic burn Wolverine. Hey, you were wearing that when you were fighting the Hulk. Small Hulk cameo. Yeah, I loved it. I giggled every single time he stabbed someone and said baby knife. It was good. Like I understand like maybe someone from like viewing it as like film, right? Like not as like a wrapping up a story or anything like that. Like just like, hey, I don't know anything about the universes. I could see how they'd be like, what is even happening, right? Or maybe someone younger that hadn't lived through all of those movies. Mm-hmm. But like for us though, like it was for us. Like that was for us. We say like, sometimes certain movies aren't for everybody. This one was for us. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, there were some parts where I was like, wait a minute, what? But I was like, okay, whatever. Doesn't matter. Like the Daredevil went and got killed too. Oh no, not the Daredevil. And she was like, I'm fine with it. I loved it. Mm-hmm. I loved it. But Chris, what did you think?
Yeah, that was my review before. It was like, there's nowhere to pee.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't leave if you want to. There's nowhere. Generally, movies will have a section where the characters are talking, right? And you can be like, I'll go bathroom. I'll be right back, and I won't miss anything. And there's no opportunity for that here. Mm-hmm. It's either the characters are moving forward, the plot is moving forward. There's some crazy cameo or Easter egg, or the thing and there was a couple of times so that you touched on a whole bunch of things that I wanted to mention here. One of them was that the plot is pretty thin. Mm-hmm. There were 2 times in the movie where I sat there for a second and I was like, wait, what? And there were a couple. One of them was like, I wasn't sure which Earth they were on at any given time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like I know there were signposts and stuff, but also like they kicked through it real quick. And so I was like, which Earth are they on? And then I instantly realized I don't fucking care.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah.
There's nothing, and this is the point I was making with Chelsea episode when we were talking about The Acolyte, is that when a movie is super entertaining for me, I just don't, the plot holes don't matter anymore. Right. You know what I mean? I'm so into the shiny thing that it's like, oh, I'm just enjoying this now. I don't have to sit there and think to myself, do I like this? Am I enjoying this? Is there?
It's kind of like the reverse of when Chelsea and I went and saw Madam Web, and there were people like being obnoxious in the movie theater, and we were both like, it's fine, because it takes my attention away from this disaster of a movie. At least there's something happening. So it's the opposite of that.
Yeah. But the fact that Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are, first off, just phenomenal actors. They're also like, Ryan Reynolds is like the king of improv, which is like the thing that has made all of the like really popular, Marvel movies, right? Being on set, being the character, doing something funny or cool, has been great. But the characters are funny when they need to be. Uh-oh. Right. Luke is tired of me talking about it. The characters are sincere when they need to be. They are mad when they need to be. You know what I mean? Like Hugh Jackman acted like he was playing in King Lear. You know what I mean? Like he's so giving 110%, doesn't matter what it is. He's probably tired of making these movies, but he's so there. And it's like, Hugh, in this scene, you are sad. And it's not that he's just like, where he just says, I'm sad. Like the sadness from him comes across, you know what I mean? Like, and you believe it. That's
right.
And the thing about Deadpool, about how sincere he is, because he's constantly making all these crazy jokes, saying terrible things and stuff. But then there's those moments when someone cuts him to the quick, and then he like kind of looks down. All this acting from behind the mask, right? Where he's like, "Oh man, you really got me there." And then they do these amazing things where you're like, "Okay, you're gonna have Deadpool and Wolverine. What kind of fights do you want them to have? Well, should they be fighting on a giant vista? Should they have all this lightning going off in the background? No, they're fighting in a van,
Right.
and it's an amazing fight.
Yeah.
Everything that they did. This feels like they've juiced the Marvel movies for another 4 years. Right? Because you can sit there and you can say, well, Deadpool was really good. I'll go see what's next and see if it's as good. So it feels like it's going to be that quality drop again.
Yeah.
Until we get another Shang-Chi, or we get another, the Doom War stuff sounds interesting, But as far as this goes, like, I don't dig going back to the movie theater, but this one I did, and so, I hope they make a gajillion dollars off of this, so that they and learn the right lessons. They won't, you know what I mean? But learn the right lessons from this.
Yeah. I did like you were talking about like Hugh Jackman, like, the sadness and believing it when he's telling the story about, Scott begging him to wear the suit all the time. And that's why he wears it. Under that, I was just like, so good.
Yeah.
So good. I also really liked Cassandra Nova.
Yeah.
I really liked her. She was just that perfect amount of like extra, but also like very methodical. Again, maybe methodical. Just very like everything. She was kind of like out there, but she thought everything through. I love that. Again, talking about cameos, I knew about the Elektra cameo because I had heard a leak about that. And this is actually a movie that I purposely didn't dive into too many leaks outside the first couple months, just to try and keep it as fresh as I could. So like the Wesley Snipes thing, I was like, what? Blade is in this movie? And then
shook when he came on screen.
Oh yeah. And it's one of those things in movies when they actually have people that know how to like throw a punch and fight, and you can actually tell. And like Wesley Snipes is an actual black belt, so in those fight scenes, I'm like, I forgot. I almost forgot how good he was at that. And I was like, oh man. And then the line about being the one and only Blade.
Yep.
that was pretty funny. The Chris Evans as Johnny Storm I was like, yep. And again, the Void was just like reference heaven. Like there was Thor's old helmet in the ground, and like Cap's like older Shield was like stuck in the ground, and then just like everything in the background, like, little stuff like that. I loved it. I wish they would have gotten me.
Are you walking off to the bathroom?
No.
You all of a sudden like started like your voice is trailing away, like you're walking away from your computer, like you're just kind of lisping. There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
There, that's I was gonna mention something because it was a little low, but then it starts sounding like you're like kind of lost in your thoughts and you're like wandering away from your mic. Like, come back.
It's probably the signal in majestic Twin Falls.
You're doing sound much better.
Okay, good. But yeah, no, just again, like like I was waiting for the next bit of cameo, the next bit of fan service, because I was like, this is what I wanted. But
the thing is about everything that you mentioned, everything that we've mentioned here, is they put it into the story to make sense. You could have just put him in the yellow and blue suit and just he's in the suit, whatever. But they made it a plot point. They made you feel it with his emotions. They brought in all these characters, and if you've lived with the 20 years of comic book movies, right? We all were like, oh my God, and seeing Gambit on screen and being awesome, being exactly the way we wanted him in a movie, because you could have had him and just have him do nothing, right? Like, and that would have been like, oh, Gambit was in this, you know what I mean? But they put him into the plot. He made a difference in the story. Johnny Storm did too. Pyro did too. Laura did too. Everything in there fit in a puzzle. There was nothing in there that felt like it was only fan service. Yes, it's fan service, but it was in service to something. It was like, if you didn't know those characters, it would still be cool to see them in a big fight fight that they were in. And so that, I feel like, is the big difference between like just sugary fan service where you're like, oh yeah, I recognize this character from there, and when they're like, here we actually put it in and it's part of the story for you.
Yeah. What I was saying is I wish they would have brought the actress that played Lady Deathstrike. She was there, but it wasn't the same lady, and so they kind of kept her in the background.
Kelly Hu.
Yep, which they didn't even bother with the Juggernaut. That I was like, that's not Vinnie Jones. But okay. Bring in Azazel. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And I remember when they first showed Gambit, I was like, is it going to be Taylor Kirsch? And then when it was Channing Tatum, I was like, this is great. This is great. But yeah, I mean, just overall, like I loved it. I think it scratched all of the nerdy itches that I had going into it. Yeah.
Now the thing is, like, can we make it sure that Marvel doesn't be like, okay, we don't need Thor breaking the fourth wall and making orgasm jokes. You know what I mean? It's like, that works because that's Deadpool's thing. He needs to be the one doing that. You know what I mean? Even if you have him. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
If you have him in something else, like if he shows up in Secret Wars or whatever, he should be the only one that's doing it. Or if She-Hulk is in it, she's another fourth wall breaking character. That's fine. If they do it, and then there's one joke where they do it together, that's great. Don't overdo it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't do this to death. That's not what we're interested in. Now we want to contrast. Do something else and make it serious.
That's why I was like, I think they should restrict fourth wall breaking to only She-Hulk and Deadpool.
Yeah.
Unless they introduce Gwenpool somehow. Just, keep it to because that's how it is in the comics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I did like the anytime Yukio is on, I was like, she's always my favorite character in whatever scene that she's in. Just a bundle of joy, and she had like 3 lines, and I was like, yes, keep putting her in things. This is delightful. But yeah, no, it was I did see that the when they had the army of Deadpools, one thing that I thought was pretty cool is there was a Welsh Deadpool,
Mm-hmm.
and he is actually a player for Wrexham FC, the Welsh football club that
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Reynolds owns. I thought that was really cool. I was like, that's awesome.
That scene is fantastic.
Oh yeah, the murder bus
The
and
Deadpool
with
tour.
yeah, the murder bus with Stanley's picture on the side.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nothing
yeah.
wrong with that scene. That music is perfect.
Mhm,
The old boy style shot there is perfect.
mhm.
Yeah, everything's great about it. And I know there's the people who want to gripe about this movie because they're like, oh, just comic book stuff, but it's like there's so much good about it.
Right.
Like you said, it's nice to see this again because then it's like, see, they can do it. You just got to put someone
Mhm.
who cares in
Yeah,
charge. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. And wasn't I'm trying to remember the line. There was a shot at James Mangold, the director of Logan. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like "Suck It, Mangold" or something like
Yeah.
that. Um, that was awesome. Also, again, seeing uh, the actress that plays Laura
Yeah.
grown up, I was like, that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Just right after we just saw her in The Acolyte,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, who did like twice in 1 month?
Yeah.
I hadn't seen you in anything. Um, but yeah, no,
Go
it was
watch
good.
his Dark Material. She's really good in that too.
Oh, okay. I think I've seen that it's on an HBO, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've seen the thing pop up for it, but I haven't actually watched it. Um, but yeah. Um, Chris, you said you had some comics that you wanted to talk about,
We
right?
do. Another one of your famous smooth as silk segues.
Mm-hmm. Silky smooth.
So silky smooth. So a couple of uh um yeah, a couple of reviews here. So if you're a frequent listener to the show, you'll remember a few episodes ago I was talking to Ryan and we were looking at NYX, new series out from Marvel. It is a new the Krakoan age is over for the X-Men. They have been kicked off the island, as it were, voted off the island, and they have been spread back out into the world to cause a lot of their own problems, right? Mutants do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but this one is now a new team of mutants that takes place in New York City. So NYX, right? Team made up of Ms. Marvel, newly minted mutant, because she was an Inhuman. Now she is both. She represents the Inhuman. She's got an Inhuman side and a mutant side. Uh, the X-23 Wolverine, but they call her Wolverine in this one. Prodigy, Anil. I'm not super familiar with him. And Sophie Cuckoo. So the one of the Stepford Cuckoos that can think for herself, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Who has a tinge of White Queen when she's interacting with stuff, but she reminds me a lot of like Veronica Lodge in
Mm-hmm.
this comic, where she's like she's very popular. She knows she's got a lot of money. She's not afraid
Mm-hmm.
to speak her mind in class, that sort of stuff, right? So they're all going to New York University, right? Where they actually have like a class now on mutant studies. And Ms. Marvel is sort of Kamala Khan. She's an introvert, still trying to keep her secret identity and that sort of stuff. So she's trying to she's not good at making friends. And so Stephanie takes her, or Sophie takes her under her wing. It takes her under her wing, kind of shows her the ropes, takes her out to a club, that sort of stuff. And then shenanigans ensue where they have to actually fight a villain. Now, the thing that I was asking Ryan
Mm-hmm.
about this is that the solicits for this said that there was a new supervillain coming who was named the Krakoan,
Mm-hmm.
who is here, he has a costume that his helmet looks like Cerebro. He's got Magneto's cape. It
Yeah.
looks like Scott's old
Is it-
90s
Is it just Cyclops?
costume. and the solicit said,
Cyclops.
who is the Krakoan? You know, yeah, he went to a bunch of yard sales and like put together a costume here.
He found a closet
Yeah,
of discarded gear.
yeah, exactly. And so Ryan, I wanted you to place bets on it as to who the Krakoan was, but now the reveal is here on the last page. Who do you think the Krakoan is?
Because before the Krakoan was Cyclops.
It's not Cyclops.
It's not Cyclops. Okay.
No.
That was Captain Krakoa, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. That was Captain Krakoa.
You'll never get this in a million years. Is
it Mole Man?
It isn't like an X. It's an X character, right? Like it's someone from the X comics.
Show it to me again.
You want to see?
Yeah.
Let me show you shows him using he's floating and he's like moving something there, maybe with his mind, or maybe with magnetic powers.
I was like, it looks like just Magneto.
It's kind of just looks like Magneto. I think he's trying to fake that he's Magneto.
I was trying to,
but it's also not Magneto.
They
don't have
X-Man.
You got to figure on NYX. They're not going to have anybody of any sort of consequence in this book. You know what I mean? Like this is going to be, like when Deadpool's talking about you couldn't pay for the studio couldn't throw us a bone by giving us a couple of mutants.
Is it X-Man?
It is not X-Man. That's closer, but it is not. It's I couldn't really tell if this guy was a villain or not because he actually was a New Mutant for a while. I looked him up on.
Why did my mind just go blank? One of my favorite characters too.
He has a lot of money. Who?
Is it Quentin? Quentin Quire?
Oh, I don't know what his real name is. I only know his code name. He's very rich.
Kid Omega?
He's kind of a dick.
From Roberto?
They didn't like
Roberto
they kind of turned him into that more in the show, right? In the animated series. But this guy apparently was like hot king shit on Turd Mountain when he showed up.
No, I'm thinking of X Factor. I'm not thinking of New Mutants. I'm thinking of the guy that was running X Factor, but he like hated mutants.
Oh yeah, no, different guy.
Okay.
Cameron Hodge.
Cameron Hodge, that's who it was.
Okay. You want the big reveal?
Yeah, New Mutant Rich. That's only Berto.
Yeah, there was one other guy. I looked him up on. I didn't know anything about this guy. I read about him I read his Wikipedia article, and it's like he's been of no consequence whatsoever. You know what I mean? Like he's shown up, he's been in things, but like trying to look through, like what did he do that was anything? I couldn't even really tell if he was a hero or a villain. Was the thing, and so here it's Hellion.
He wasn't new. He was in New Mutants.
Yes. So, but
Hellion? That makes sense.
Yeah.
Sure.
The kid who would
Wait a minute. He has his hands? Oh, maybe he got resurrected. I don't remember.
His hand. So he's got one behind a glove. I can't tell on here. So he's the telekinetic, the kid who would be Cyclops. And so the evil team here is Empath, Hellion, and the Stepford Cuckoos. Are the guys who they're going to run up against. So I'm sure this is going to be just rock and roll. I'm going to keep up with this one. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So Hellion was part of Emma's school.
Yeah.
The New Mutants.
Yeah.
The team was appropriately named the Hellions.
Yeah. He was too good to be there. He was like,
he's a jerk. No, even his team was like, "You're a jerk."
Yes,
he's super. Where you have no empathy.
A sociopath.
Sociopath. Yeah, he's really ill, and he's very disturbing. And then he gets his like hands cut off, and then he has no hands. So then he has like telekinetic hands,
like spirit hands.
Yeah, like spirit hands.
It's like the torso. What's his name from the Venture Brothers? The torso.
The torso.
Yeah. So this issue, they just got the team together, and they do the thing that I hate is when the villain is there to actually kill the hero. You know what I mean? Instead of the villain trying to accomplish something and the hero's trying to stop them. It's like a crappy Batman movie.
Right.
What's your plan? To kill the Batman. Why? What's he doing to you? Leave him alone. You know what I mean? You're trying to rob a bank. You're trying to take over the world. No, I want to kill Batman. Well, he'll show up if you're trying to do something. You know, think ahead on that a little bit. You know, it's just anyway, feels like lazy writing. So I also know that the other review that I have is that, and it's a quick one. The end of the Blood Hunt, the vampires.
I'm so excited for this. I've been riveted this whole time that you've been going over these.
The last issue of that one came out, and so what? To give people a little bit of review, what happened was all of the Dark Force characters in the Marvel Universe exploded and blotted out the sun. And as a consequence, a bunch of eldritch vampires started trying to take over the world. Dracula, who had a newly minted country of his own for vampires, is accused of this nefarious plot, and is like, I just got a country. Why would I do this?
Right.
And
I finally got what I wanted.
Yeah, I finally got what I want. Why would I do this? So he seeks out Blade's daughter to try to find out who is actually behind this. In a crazy turn of events, turns out that the villain is actually Blade, who has been taken over by Verta, the very first vampire. He's been possessed, and so it's not even Blade. He does a surprise attack on the Avengers. Some of them are turned into vampires, including Doctor Strange, who was in astral projection mode. So while his body was infected and turned into a vampire's astral form, was still around, able to try to help stop the vampire menace. So that's what has happened so far. And in the last two issues, what they found out is that Blade and Verta, I think is how you pronounce her name, have actually bonded with the Dark Force dimension. So Blade comes out as this like Cthulhu type monster, tentacles and everything, to start to try to take over the world. And Stephen Strange, as the Sorcerer Supreme, is powerless to stop him. So he cuts a deal with Doctor Doom. Dr. Doom says, hey, so what happened? So sorry, back up just 1 second. Tigra was on a mission to save Khonshu from a Asgardian prison. So they save Khonshu, and Khonshu's fix for the vampires is to resurrect zombies to fight the vampires.
Zombies versus vampires.
Yes. And so they brought back. That's how they brought back Moon Knight. And so, because he was dead, so he resurrected him, and so they're fighting the vampires. And so Dr. Doom is talking to Stephen Strange, and he's like, are you serious? You just want zombies and vampires fighting everybody everywhere? That's not helping anyone, is it? And so he says, all right, Doom, what will it take to help us? And he says, oh, just a small price. He's like, you need to make me Sorcerer Supreme to be able to cast the spell that will save the world, you know? And so in the when things look the bleakest, Stephen agrees with Dr. Doom and says, well, you have to give it right back.
yeah, you got to give it right back when you're done with it, Victor.
Yep. And he says, give me your word as Doom. And he says, you have the word of Doom. I will return it after the world is saved. And so he makes him Sorcerer Supreme. Doom does all this magic, and he just basically reverses everything, like right at the same moment that they kill Blade, so that like it also fixes all of the people he turned into vampires. It's those rules. Like if you kill your sire, the sire of the vampire, the children are rescued. Because Miles Morales was also turned into a vampire, and boy did he look cool, like fangs and stuff.
Yeah.
So he had vampire powers, his invisibility powers, and his spider powers, and his electric powers. Like he's a little OP, but still really cool looking. So they kill Blade, but at least the demon possessing him, right? And Dr. Doom saves the world, right? So then Stephen Strange is like, that was amazing. Now go ahead and give it back. And he's like, oh, you didn't understand. There's a lot more steps to saving the world. We'll see you. And so now we're into section where Doom is the Sorcerer Supreme and what's going to happen from there.
Huh.
So the end of the thing was there was no consequences for the vampires almost at all, except for the people who died.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
the innocent civilians that were murdered by
I'm trying to remember
vampires.
at the beginning he had like Latveria had like the vampire proof borders, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, let's just see how it works.
Yes.
And he fried up events for vampires. He's like, it works.
Yeah. And so he's like, we're good. That's what I love about Doom, right? He's always like, yeah, whatever you think about him, he's like, yeah, it's not bad to live there. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You look around at a world where Galactus exists, you know what I mean? You're like, maybe I live here.
Right. Yeah, maybe it's not. I mean, it could be worse, right? It could be worse. That's what I always thought about in the Old Man Logan stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There was, like Doom's little world wasn't the worst.
Right.
Like, it wasn't great. It wasn't good, but I mean, there were definitely worse places you could be.
Right. That was Doom 2099 too, where because that's not actually like Victor Von Doom. I believe it was Christoph, but he also had like a lot of Doom tendencies, right? And so in 2099, his whole reason of being like someone who wants to save the world is because he's like, I don't want anybody to ruin it before I take it over. Why would I let anybody ruin this thing? Like, I want
don't
it.
Break my things. Don't break my things.
This belongs to me. Who do you think you are, Magneto? You know, Loki or anybody? This belongs to me. It's under my protection. So yeah, I dig that when villains have their own code of ethics that they're working on.
Yeah, it's great.
So yeah, pick up every issue of Blood Hunt. Yeah, 12 out of 10.
Yeah, this one was the one that was made for Chris.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Ryan, do you have anything? I haven't had a chance to read anything.
I have not either.
Excellent. Look at us coming through. But do you guys have anything else before we wrap this up?
One thing I wanted to give a shout out to Collectors Hub. It is a comic book store in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Had to do a quick stop over there for my job. And as I always do when I'm in a new city, I take to the Google Maps and see if there's a local comic book store. And there was one that was a 4-minute walk from my hotel. And it happened to be a Collectors Hub. They were super nice. Grabbed a set of Archie variants that they had in the back issues. They had a really neat wall. They had so many of the first and second appearances of, or early appearances of Usagi Yojimbo on the wall, which was really cool to see all of those. But yeah, no, cool comic book store. And so if you're in Cheyenne, Wyoming, stop by there and say hi.
Hell yeah. All right. I guess, Chris, tell them where they can find you and your streams and stuff.
Yes, Validity Studios on all of the major social networks. And if you want to come and hang out for a couple of hours while I'm drawing online, you can head over to Whatnot. And on Monday nights, 7 p.m. most Mondays, if my work is not sending me somewhere or making me work late or something like that. And you too could come and just hang out, talk comics, or get a commission for yourself or a loved one. Or a hated one. Yeah. I don't care if you give it to an enemy.
Hello, my mortal enemy. I got you this amazing cover. All right, guys. So if that's it, thanks for listening, everyone. You can find us on nerddomepodcast.com and anywhere that you get your podcast, where you found us. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and leave them. And yeah, episode suggestions. We take all suggestions. But yeah, thanks for listening. And Ryan,
don't forget to subscribe.
You may now exit the dome.
Fuck responsibility.
I could see the whole time.
Hail Hydra.
Andrew never knows what to say here.
He doesn't. But he did say he liked Deadpool.
Oh, good.
He did say that.
All right, guys. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.